Thank you, Senator Boyce. Senator Ludlam.
Thanks, Mr Acting Deputy President. I rise to support this bill, which my colleague Senator Hanson-Young has brought before the chamber as part of a long and somewhat arduous campaign in favour of what we in the Australian Greens believe is completely the obvious. I want to acknowledge and congratulate Senator Boyce for the contribution that she just made. Those sort of contributions are all too rare in this place, and it is when people are considering and voting on their conscience that the quality of the debate is measurably improved. So thank you, Senator Boyce, for having the courage to do what you've just done. The only qualification I will make is that in the Australian Greens we do have a conscience vote on all matters. You have to go back quite some time in the Hansard record to find that being exercised, but we do vote with our conscience on all of these matters. And it's part, I think, of the reason for our success. And I only wish, on this of all issues, which in fact is a rights issue and shouldn't, I believe, even have been hung up inside the Labor caucus on whether or not it was a conscience issue, this is a matter that should really have been dealt with many, many years ago. What we are attempting to do here is undo a grave mistake that was legislated by the Howard government nearly a decade ago. And so, of course, we support this amendment. As Senator Hanson-Young has so ably pointed out, this is not the whole picture. This is a piece of the puzzle, and it is also something that we consider to be self-evidently a worthy amendment. Because this is straightforward discrimination, we in this parliament need to respond to the fact that people are fired for who they fall in love with. People are unable to speak up at work. They can have their children turned away at school, and there are all kinds of other forms of subtle and much less subtle discrimination, up to and including homophobic violence. Now, we cannot build that full equality in Parliament alone. We know that we can't do it by the simple amendment or by a straightforward amendment to the Marriage Act, but we here are called to do our part and to do what we can to remove legislated black-letter discrimination on the Australian statute books. That is one thing that we can do, and it is that kind of leadership shown on Capitol Hill, which we know now there are undercurrents in all parties in this parliament, strong undercurrents of support for this measure and the broader measure that it implies of the straightforward legal recognition of marriage, no matter your sexual orientation. The fact that this form of discrimination is still legal in Australia under laws that senators from the other parties have chosen not to change, with the honourable exception perhaps of Senator Boyce, as she has just indicated, this is something that we can remedy. Homophobic violence is real. Being young and LGBTI in rural Australia remains a difficult start to a life, and one that tragically some people do not make it through. We parliamentarians cannot make every Australian understand the imperative for equality overnight, but we can make our laws equal, and at the moment they are not. Not only are our marriage laws unequal and discriminatory here, they are also unequal and discriminatory for couples married overseas who come here, and that is what this straightforward bill seeks to address. I want to acknowledge Senator Hanson-Young for her long and tireless advocacy for this cause, and also as a senator here representing Western Australia, for the remarkable advocacy, the persistence and the straightforward bolshiness of the marriage equality movement and the equal love movement in Western Australia. My colleague Lynn McLaren MLC, who has moved for legislative change in the West Australian Parliament in the event that this national parliament should fail in its obligation to remove discrimination from the statute books. We are all part in here representatives of a much larger movement and undercurrent in society. It's not a simple breakdown over age. It's not simply a generational gap thing, although you can see the very large numbers of younger people coming out for whom this is quite simply self-evident. We know, therefore, that this is really only a matter of time. And so my question to you, colleagues, through you, Acting Deputy President, is if not now, then when? If not now, then when? This is something we could remedy this morning should we choose to, and I strongly commend this bill to the chamber.